Welcome to worship at Elliott Unitarian Chapel. I am the Reverend Barbara Gaydon, and I am honored to serve as your lead minister along with the Reverend Krista Taves. If you are with us for the first time, we offer you a special welcome. We are an intentionally inclusive congregation which welcomes all creeds, all races, all genders, all sexual orientations, and all kinds of families. Welcome. And welcome to UU Summer at the Movies. This summer, we are excited to worship with 9 other congregations, each one offering a service based on the themes and lessons of some of our favorite movies. For example, what have we learned about mass incarceration since 1994 when The Shawshank Redemption was released? How do we draw hope from The Last Jedi? Where do we find freedom in Hidden Figures? We will answer these questions and more at UU Summer at the Movies. All the movies we've selected are readily available. They're either free or they are inexpensive to rent. So do peruse the list, treat yourself, and watch them before the services. Elliott Chapel will be offering a service called The Purposes of Time Travel, based on, you guessed it, Back to the Future. Great Scott!
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too, the sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices 3, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices 3. This is the sound of voices 3. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. Ooh. This is the sound of one voice, one people, one voice, a song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
Our opening words today were written by the Reverend Ian W. Riddell. Come one, come all. Come with your missing pieces and your extra screws. Come with your hard edges and your soft spots. Come with your bowed heads and upright spines. Come, all you flamboyant and drab, verbose and quiet, fidgeting and lethargic, all you with large vision and tender hearts, all you with small courage and tender fears. Bring your lisp and your stutter and your song. Bring your gravel and your drawl and your lilt. Bring your anger and your joy and your righteous indignation. Misfits and conformists and everyone in between, come into this time and be welcome. Bring who you are, bring where you have traveled, bring what you long for, and let us worship together. Well, hello. We light this chalice. We light this chalice to honor the past, to celebrate the mysteries, and to encourage boldness to move into the future.
We celebrate the web of life, its magnitude we sing, for we can see divinity in every living thing. A fragment of the perfect whole in cactus and in quail, as much in tiny barnacle as in the great blue whale. Of ancient dreams we are the sum, our bones link stone to star, and bind our future worlds to come with worlds that were and are. Respect the water, land, and air which gave all creatures birth. Protect the lives of all that share the glory of the earth.
I invite you now into a time of prayer and meditation. If you wish to, you may plant your feet flat on the floor, straighten your spine, close your eyes, and follow your breath, and hear these words by the Reverend Sean Parker Dennison. To invoke love is to ask for a hug from a thunderstorm. Spill tea in the lap of the infinite trickster. To make the biggest, most embarrassing mistake of your life in front of everyone who matters. To invoke love is to never know if it will come softly, with the nuzzle of a beloved dog, or pounce right on your chest with the strength of a lioness, protecting her cub, her pride, her homeland. To invoke love is to take the risk of inviting chaos to visit the spaces that you spent so much time making tidy, and watch as the breath of life scatters everything you have only just folded and put away. To invoke love is to allow for the possibility that your words and actions might become so empowered that you can no longer believe in apathy or the self-righteous idea that nothing can change. To invoke love is to give up self-deprecation, false humility, pride, to consider yourself worthy to be made whole, willing to encounter love that will never let each other go. To invoke love is to guard against assumptions, take care with our words, and practice forgiveness, not as ethereal ideal, but right here in the messy midst of our imperfect lives. To invoke love is to approach each day and every person with wonder, anticipating love's arrival. Is this the moment? Is this love's grand entrance? Is this person the embodiment of love? Am I the one? To invoke love is to play the fool, the one more concerned with loving than with appearance or reputation, the one ready and willing to be vulnerable, abandoning anything that gets in love's way. To invoke love is to be ready to become love, here, now, in everything we do. Are you ready?
Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Mystery from mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Mystery from mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Where are we going? Where do we come from? Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? Mystery. Life is a riddle and a mystery. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going?
Raised in the woods, something you every tree. Killed him a bar when he was only 3. The Navy.
Hey, kid, what'd you do, jump ship? What? Well, what's with the life preserver?
I just want to use the phone.
Yeah, it's in the bag.
Round. Great, you're alive. to our 1640 Riverside.
Are you gonna order
Drive?
something, kid?
Yeah. Give me a tab.
Tab? I can't give you a tab unless you order something.
All right, give me a Pepsi free.
You want a Pepsi, pal? You're gonna pay for it.
Look, just give me something without any sugar in it, okay?
Something without sugar.
Hey, McFly! What do you think you're doing?
Biff.
Hey, I'm talking to you, McFly, you Irish bug.
Oh, hey, Biff. Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Yeah, you got my homework finished, McFly?
Well, actually, I figured since it wasn't due till Monday.
Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Hey, think, McFly, think. I gotta have time to recopy it. You realize what would happen if I hand in my homework in your handwriting? I'll get kicked out of school. You wouldn't want that to happen, would you? Would you?
Well, now, of course not,
No,
Biff. I wouldn't
no.
want that to happen.
What are you looking at, butthead?
Hey, Biff, get hold of this guy's life preserver. Dork thinks he's gonna drown.
Yeah. So, how about my homework, McFly?
Okay, Biff. Well, I'll finish that on up tonight, and then I'll bring it over first thing tomorrow morning.
Hey, not too early. I sleep in Sundays. Oh, McFly, your shoes untied. Don't be so gullible, McFly.
Okay.
I don't want to see you in here again.
Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
What? You're George McFly. Yeah, who are you?
Say, what do you let those boys push you around like that for?
Well, they're bigger than me.
Stand tall, boy. Have some respect for yourself. Don't you know if you let people walk over you now, they'll be walking over you for the rest of your life. Look at me. You think I'm gonna spend the rest of my life in this slop house?
Watch it, Goldie.
No, sir. I'm gonna make something of myself. I'm going to night school, and one day I'm gonna be somebody.
That's right, he's gonna be mayor.
Yeah, I'm mayor. Now that's a good idea. I could run for mayor.
A colored mayor, that'll be the day.
You wait and see, Mr. Carruthers. I will be mayor. I'll be the most powerful man in Hill Valley, and I'm gonna clean up this town.
Good. You can start by sweeping the floor.
Man, Goldie Wilson. I like the sound of that.
I had a dream recently that I met my father as a young man. Or more accurately, I almost met him. It was a bright summer day, and I was walking in a town that was unfamiliar to me. And I saw a man coming toward me in a light-colored suit with a crew cut and kind of big squarish glasses. He was probably in his 20s or his 30s, young anyway. And I had this sudden rush of recognition. He was the man that I saw in all of our family photographs that were taken before I was born. I said, "Dad." And he stopped and looked confused, as anybody might be if a woman twice their age addressed them as Dad. But I couldn't help myself. "Dad." And he stopped, blinking for a moment. And he might have been just going to say something to me when a car pulled up and a woman popped out and grabbed him by the arm. "Come on, Mr. Hogue," she said, looking at me suspiciously. "We'll get you out of here." And she hustled him into the car and drove off. Clearly, I have seen a few movies about time travel. I love them. I'm one of the people that wishes that time travel was true. It's why I chose Back to the Future as the text for our service. Time travel is about the longing, the hunger, the desire that we all have to break free of the limitations of time, to have more of it, or to have more time to be doing the things and being with the people that we love. to change violent or a painful history, to deal with mistakes and regrets, and to overcome the frailty and the limited shelf life of all the human bodies that we hold dear. It's something that we know is not possible and yet stubbornly still find quite plausible, like almost meeting your late father as a young man. It just seems just beyond our reach. And it's not just storytellers who are interested in this notion. The National Geographic reports that 50 scientific papers are published every year concerning time travel. The idea is just a little more than a century old. It really hasn't been part of our thinking for most of human history. H.G. Wells put together the words time and travel for the first time, really, in 1895 when he wrote The Time Machine. Why then, you might wonder? And James Gleick, in his wonderful book, Time Travel, gives us some great insights about that. He says that the industrial age showed people were watching their daily life change dramatically. And they could see an agrarian life receding behind them. And for the first time, people could see that their lives were different from that of their parents. And the world that their children would inhabit would be different from their own. Marshall McLuhan said, technology defines how we collectively understand time and space. So different inventions like the telegraph, which made transmission of information instantaneous instead of being limited by the speed at which a horse or a train car could move. This type of precision allowed us to create a train schedule. It was a visual map of both space and time. So you could see 8:15 Kirkwood and then map its relationship with 8:23 downtown St. Louis. Time and place became fused and could be plotted out, could be visualized. James Gleick writes, that H.G. Wells's ideas about time were informed by Charles Lyell and Charles Darwin, who read the buried strata that frame the ages of the earth and the ages of life. Wells studied zoology and geology as a scholarship student at the Normal School of Science and Royal School of Mines, and these subjects encouraged him to view the world's history as if from a great height, its lost epochs, a panorama unfolding. Geological time, so vastly extended, disrupted the earlier sense of historical time in which the world was plausibly considered to be only 6,000 years old. And lately, too, there was a science called archaeology, grave robbers and treasure hunters in the service of knowledge. Like photography and cinematography, just being developed, time was starting to become visual and tangible. When I visited Israel several years ago, they showed us these cutaway diagrams of tells or mounds in which you see one group of conquerors from one era building over the last. The past could be mapped out as if it could be someplace you could go. And in movies like Back to the Future, it is also a place that you are from. Time travel is about mastering our limitations. In H.G. Wells's time and ours, we've developed control over so many things that our ancestors didn't. So why not time? Gleick says that the closer you get to having something, the keener your desire for it, the more you think it's possible. One thing that seems to motivate people most in traveling back in time is regret, or wanting to go back and fix something that seems wrong in the present. So in Back to the Future, Marty McFly does this without meaning to. He looks at his parents, two deeply unhappy people. His mother, Lorraine, an alcoholic. His father, George, is bullied and humiliated every day by a coworker. His brother and sister are lonely and they work menial jobs. And he's continually wondering why. Things seem out of whack in this family. Marty is good friends with a man that he calls Doc Brown, who is obsessed with time. The movie begins with Doc's lab, in Doc's lab, where there are more than 30 clocks, I read, set 28 minutes slow for some experiment he's doing. And this makes Marty late for school. There is never enough time in this movie. And that's where it gets a lot of its tension. We need a mechanism of some sort for time travel. Most of the tales have some kind of machine or drug or something. In Wells's Time Machine, he created this souped up bicycle, which was a pretty recent technology for them. And H.G. Wells was an avid cyclist. So it would make sense that his time machine would be a bicycle. Doc Brown uses a DeLorean. Why not, if you're going to make a time machine, why not do it with a little style, he says. Well, things go awry with his experiment. Some terrorists, some stolen plutonium, and Marty needs to escape. So he jumps into the DeLorean, which has been set for, do you remember the date? November 12th, 1955. So Marty returns to that date and he meets his parents, George and Lorraine, who are high school students. What a remarkable opportunity, right? Who wouldn't want a glimpse of their parents as teenagers? Maybe it would help us understand a little more about who they were. And who wouldn't want to at least walk around in another time, just say for a week? Robert Zemeckis' 1955 is gorgeous, with cool cars, great clothes, and music that at least is about to become fabulous. With this much time since the movie was released, Back to the Future also serves as a time capsule for the 1980s. No cell phones, computers, there are stonewashed jeans, big teased hair, Calvin Klein underwear, and the running joke is people thinking that Marty's vest jacket, the height of fashion in 1985, was a life preserver. The town also looks a lot nicer and shinier than it did in 1985. Since our hero is a young, white, straight, cisgender, able-bodied male, this town was literally built for him. You can see it on the sign advertising a brand new development. Film critic Justin Chang said that Back to the Future was a perfect film for the mid-1980s and the Reagan era. It worshiped technological innovation, and it nursed a longing for what it considered a simpler time that had gone by. There are a few notes in the film that have kind of soured with time, I think. Don't say that a white kid from the suburbs gives a genius like Chuck Berry his new sound. Just don't. Don't create what is essentially a rape scene as a chance for someone to be a hero. Not cool, dude. For what it's worth, I'd like to see a film where Lorraine gets to be the one to deliver that right hook that knocks Biff out. Then she jumps into the DeLorean, drives off for 5 or 6 years hence, gets her law degree, and puts his sorry behind in jail. But to quote Marty McFly, I guess you guys aren't ready for that. They weren't in 1985. But your granddaughters are going to make it happen. You could say that all the reasons that we want to travel in time really come down to one: to elude death. Time is brutal. Time is a killer. Everyone knows that time will bury us eventually. Time's winged chariot is not taking us anywhere good. The late Forrester Church once said, "Religion is our human response to the dual reality of being alive and having to die." Find that so powerful. I'm going to say it again. Religion is our human response to the duality of being alive and having to die. What do we make of this is a religious question. Religion has for centuries tried to soften this terrible notion of death and finality with the possibility of heaven and hell, creating rules of behavior and creeds that have to be believed, cycles of reincarnation, even if you don't think it's fair. There was something satisfying in saying, well, at least we know. Universalism's great contribution to Western religion was to insist that the notion of hell was simply unbelievable, unsubstantiated, and utterly cruel for a loving God to do to God's people. Other religions have followed suit after that. Religion, for Unitarian Universalists, now as a whole, I would say we are agnostic about the afterlife. We don't know, and we simply can't know. And yet, I have to think that we feel the same longing to know as anybody else. There is a scene towards the end when Lorraine and George have their legendary kiss at the Enchantment Under the Sea ball, which makes Marty's future life secure again. Marty leaves the stage and he runs into them.
Rain.
Marty, that was very interesting music.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind, but George asked if he could take me home.
Great. Good. Lorraine. I had a feeling about you, too.
I have a feeling, too.
Listen, I gotta go, but I wanted to tell you that it's been educational.
Marty, will we ever see you again?
I guarantee it.
Well, Marty, I want to thank you for all your good advice. I'll never forget it.
Right, George. Well, good luck, you guys.
Marty, will we ever see you again? Why would she ask him that? He has said nothing about leaving town or going away. But the question isn't really about that, is it? It's the question we want to ask everyone we love, whom we know will die, especially our parents. And we don't ask it. We know the answer. It's sort of like the Midwestern goodbye. You know, that thing that we do saying that we've got to go now, and we're still talking. We move a few feet and we say, I've got to go again. And then we talk some more. We are just kind of lousy at goodbyes. I think we love this movie because for a few moments, we don't have to say goodbye. We are forever young, revving up the DeLorean, rocking out to Johnny Be Good, and gliding through town on a skateboard. We are just that cool. We know we can't go back there. We know. Nobody is going to invent a time machine that works. All we can do, and all of these time travel stories do, is ask, what if? It's all about asking the question, what if? As sacred a question as we will ever ask. Amen.
Though below me I feel no motion, standing on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known, the wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. Sun, my sail, and moon, my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all we kindred pilgrim souls, making our way by the lights of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, hail the great winds urging me on, greet the infinite sea before
Now may the love which overcomes all differences, which heals all wounds, which puts to flight all fears, which reconciles all who are separated, be in us and among us now and always. Go in peace.